Hey guys, Brian Taylor here with Dreamline Realty. I hope you guys are doing well today. Today is the 4th of July, and by the time that you watch this video, you'll have already had your 4th of July celebration, watch some fireworks, and all of that good stuff. So I hope your 4th was amazing. But I want to get this video out to you today because there are two articles that I want to share with you that have Charlotte in the spotlight. So one article talks about how home values in Charlotte are overvalued. And the other article talks about how Charlotte and Raleigh are the two cities in the country that are seeing the highest new amounts of inventory, which kind of has my head spinning a little bit, and I'll tell you why that is in a minute. And then we're going to talk about Boise, Idaho. And you might be thinking, why are we going to talk about Boise, Idaho? Well, a lot of people are looking at Boise, Idaho right now and saying that a lot of other cities could follow their trend. So as always, I'm going to give you my thoughts on what I think is going to happen in the market, show you the data that's currently being released, and we're going to unpack all of it right now. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you and I have not met yet, my name is Brian Taylor. I'm the owner of Dreamline Realty right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now and then tap on that bell for notifications, so you'll be notified when I put new videos out every single week. And do me a favor, if y'all would, drop in the comments below where you're from. I'm curious to find out who my viewers are and where you guys are watching my videos from, whether you are out of state or right here in Charlotte. I would love to know that. So again, we've got two articles that came out over the last couple of days that are really interesting. And I want to share these with you guys, talk about what I'm seeing in the market and where I think we're going. So the first article came out here on Friday, and it's an article from Market Watch, and it reads, "The cities where housing costs are likely to drop. We've squeezed a decade of home price appreciation into a year and a half." Goes on to say mortgage rates are cooling off after sharply rising, but expect home prices to start slowing and even dropping in some of the most overheated markets in the country over the next couple of years. Goes on to say that the consensus is most forecasters are anticipating prices to either flatten and or go down next year, especially in a lot of these way overheated markets like Boise, Pelosi says. He's the author of the article. At a national level, he said he expected home prices to decline by mid-single digit percentages over the next 2 years, and it's not just him. Capital economist Matthew Poynton also expect a small fall in home prices of around 5% on a year-over-year basis by 2023, he said. Okay guys, so let's check out this chart for Boise, Idaho. Now this is given to us by the author Rick Palacios Jr. and it says, "Wild Boise home price chart, likely one of the first markets that will flip negative. Rate of change going pretty fast in the opposite way now." So if we go over to the left-hand side of the chart, it shows us February 2020. And it shows us that in Boise, Idaho, the year-over-year price home value change was at 10%. But as we make our way through June of 2021, you can see the home price values in Boise sitting over 35%. And then since June of 2021 through May of 2022, they have fallen back down to 10%. So that's very interesting, seeing what's going on out there in Boise. Now, one thing I will tell you is that real estate markets, of course, are extremely local. So we have to be paying attention to what's happening in our local markets and not always looking at the whole national thing in general, because Charlotte is a much different market than places like Boise, some of the other places in California, Salt Lake City. We're going to talk about them in just a second. So the article continues to say, that's likely to be followed by declines in home prices in places like Austin, Texas, Las Vegas, Nashville, Tennessee, Phoenix, Riverside, San Bernardino, California, and Salt Lake City in 2023. It says at the end of the article, inventory is climbing too. Realtor.com data from June noted an 18.7% increase in the number of new homes available for buyers, the fastest yearly pace of all time, the company said. The biggest jumps in listings were in markets like Raleigh and Charlotte in North Carolina and Nashville on a month-over-month basis. Now, this stat to me was very interesting. And this one kind of caught me a little bit off guard when I read this, because here in Charlotte, we have seen a little more inventory come on the market, but it hasn't been this massive explosion of inventory like I just read in this article. So if we take a look at this information here from Canopy MLS, we are going to see our inventory levels have only increased by 4.4% year over year, and we're down 4.5% year to date. So inventory levels here in Charlotte are still below pre-pandemic levels, and the June numbers are going to come out next week. So maybe we're going to see a major shift in those numbers when we get the June data, because remember, this data is a month in arrears. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens next week when we get those numbers for June. But I'm just not seeing this massive increase in inventory here. So this one really kind of has my head spinning just a little bit. So there's another article that came out this week as well, and it says, housing market crash could see values of homes plummet in these 11 states. And this one is from Newsweek. So it says the US housing market is starting to slow after months of record high prices, surging mortgage interest rates, and a lack of inventory that has forced buyers into merciless bidding wars. This slowdown, which could eventually bring home prices down, could go into a completely opposite direction, one that economists dread, a market crash. While in many states, home prices have risen by less than 12.5%, in 11 states, home prices have soared by over 20%. And then it goes on here to show you the states that fall into these 11. And if you look right there, North Carolina is at number 7, and our friends in South Carolina are at number 8. The article continues to say, according to Moody's Analytics, homes are now even more overvalued than they were during the 2000s housing market bubble. To some, this situation indicates the possibility that the market could crash, starting with these 11 states. It goes on to say, though, but Moody's Analytics top economists believe that a correction of the market is coming, rather than a crash. I don't think we're going to see a crash for a number of reasons, Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi told Newsweek. 1, the market is very tight. In the physical market, vacancy rates are pretty close to record lows, and for the sale market, they are at record lows, Zandi says. He goes on to say, lending has been very good since the financial crisis. Underwriting has been very strong. The 30-year, 15-year fixed rate mortgage is nothing exotic, nothing complicated. You need lots of defaults and distressed sales to get prices to fall sharply, and I just don't see that happening, Zandi explained. It would only happen if we got into some of the stagflation environment with very high interest rates and very high unemployment, but that doesn't seem likely. And finally, as home prices have reached heights that makes homes impossible to afford for many, home sales have started to wane, leading to a slowdown of the US housing market. Whether what will follow will be a crash or a correction of the market remains to be seen. So guys, wow, just totally different perspectives out there of where things are right now. On the one hand, you have people thinking that home prices all across the country are going to come down 20%, 30%, all across the board, right? And then you have people like me that are watching the Charlotte market, know that real estate is very local, and I'm not seeing that at all. I am seeing a market where we are starting to soften, we are starting to get back to stabilization, and we're starting to get back to normalcy. I see a market where we are probably going to see home values come down, sales take longer to sell, and get back to a market where we're going to see about a 5% appreciation year over year. So it's very, very interesting to see these different perspectives coming from different people. And as I've mentioned before, you've got all sorts of people in the headlines and on YouTube just promoting this doom and gloom and crash worse than 2008 and just everything crazy that's going to happen. But right now, guys, the inventory levels, as I just mentioned, are not even back to where we were pre-pandemic. So we are still in that shortage of inventory. And you got to think in Charlotte, right? Charlotte is a very popular market. We have 120 people a day coming to Charlotte, and these people are gonna buy houses and continue to buy houses regardless of what interest rates are doing. And I'm gonna update you on interest rates here in just a second. But we're still seeing multiple offers every day, just not in the numbers that we were before. We are seeing houses stay on the market a little bit longer. That is true. And as we progress over time, yes, we are not going to see sellers get above asking price, probably at asking price or a little bit under. And speaking of interest rates, 3 weeks ago, we talked about interest rates being at 6 to 8%. Well, just Friday, look at this. Rates are now back down to 5.5%. So some preliminary inflation data came out last week that showed to some people that we may have reached the peak of inflation. That helped the bond markets kind of settle down, which was very good news for the markets. And on July 13th, next week, we get the CPI data for inflation, and that'll be the true tell of where we kind of stand. So last month it came in at 8.6%. If we are under the expectations and show that inflation is lower than we've been expecting, and those numbers look really good, a lot of people think that we probably have turned the corner on inflation and starting to get control of it, which should help the markets remain pretty level from an interest rate perspective. Now, yes, a lot of people are saying that we are going to head into a recession. Some people think we already are in a recession. I probably would agree that we are going to go into a recessionary period with everything else going on out there in the market. But like a lot of economists, I agree that this won't be a very long-lived one, maybe 6 months, maybe 12 months. But as I've told you guys before, stuff changes so fast. We just don't know what's going to happen. So guys, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you're thinking about the market, where you think we're headed. A lot of you guys have reached out to me. I really appreciate that. I appreciate your insights, and just appreciate you watching the channel. So guys, that's all I have for today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, like I said, go ahead and do that now, and then click on that bell for notifications. I'm putting out at least 2 videos a week to get you guys up to speed on everything that I'm seeing happening out there in the real estate market. And if you want to watch the last video I did where I talk about Charlotte inventory and new construction, you can check that one out here, guys. So thanks very much for watching, and as always, make it a great day.